Hello,
Hello, Brenda.
how are you?
Hi,
I'm good.
Brenda.
Hi.
Hi, Gordon.
Hello.
Hey Gordon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
See you.
This will be the second meeting today that I've produced, and for a total of about 5 hours on Zoom. So,
Oh, wow. I know you are very tired.
yes, I am.
But tonight, Gordon, do you have a copy of the agenda?
I don't have a
Okay,
yeah.
this is what we're gonna do because last time we kind of lost the time.
Yep.
So what I'm gonna do is when I say presentation, they're gonna have 10 minutes to speak. And when we say 10 minutes to speak, I want you to keep your clock. And I
Okay.
want, all right. And when 10 minutes is up, you know what to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Because last time it got kind of out of hand. And I find that they was beginning to say the same things over and over and over instead of just saying we are finished. And
Gordon, I'll send you a link to the published agenda.
I emailed
Thank
it to
you.
him also.
Okay, thank you, guys.
hi, everyone.
Hey Evan, hey Aaron, hey Jeff.
Hello.
Good evening.
How is everyone doing?
We're
All right.
hanging in there. Oh, Brenda, I'm sorry, I didn't even see you had texted me.
Oh, that's okay.
I was on the phone.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Perry should be calling in shortly. I was actually on the phone with him when you texted me.
Allison is on here, but she can't hear anyone.
Might be as a panelist yet.
Aren't you looking cute tonight, Miss Erin? Looking like a little teenager. That is so sweet.
Good evening.
Hello.
And who are we missing?
Let's see. Leroy said,
I was gonna say,
I can see what you. All right. So I think Leroya has dialed in. She might need to be made a presenter. I think
Okay.
she's on the phone.
Is she last three digits 427?
I believe so. Let me check. Yes.
Okay.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay.
So Gordon, what are we supposed to do differently when we log on so that, like, I could hear everyone, but no one could hear me? Am I supposed to let you know that I'm here?
Yeah, I just hadn't seen you in the participants list. So if you just drop in the chat that you're there, I'll find you.
Okay, because the chat was disabled, so I couldn't. So I just texted Aaron and Brenda, but
Oh,
I
right.
just want to make
Okay.
sure I'm doing it right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fine.
so we have a crowd.
I see Perry in the attendees, if you can promote him, please.
Everyone ready?
I guess.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh no, let me get a virtual background together.
Thank you.
Let me do
Okay,
that.
good evening, everyone. It is now 7:03 p.m. and we're going to call the meeting to order. Erin, can you do the roll call, please?
Yes. 4B01,
Present.
4B02 present, 4B03. Do we have Scott on?
I don't see him.
Okay, I'll make a note for now. 4B04,
Present.
4B05,
Present.
4B06, 4B07,
Present.
4B08,
Present.
4B09.
Present.
Great.
Thank you.
We have a quorum.
All right, we now have a quorum.
If Scott joins, if folks could let me know just so I can add him to the list.
Okay. We're going to ask everyone to please silence their cell phones with the background noise that we have sometimes. And we're going to talk about community concerns before we get started. The community concerns, if you have a question, please raise your hand. I have already talked to Allison earlier today. I may not stay to the entire meeting because I'm not feeling well at all today, but it's okay. Please raise your hand for community concerns, and we have community concerns again at the end. We find that this works better because it gives everyone time to think about what their concerns for their neighborhood are. And we are asking that the commission will provide additional detail regarding how to present community concerns vis-a-vis the virtual meeting at the start of the meeting. And I think this is our third meeting, so we don't need to exactly go over that again. And this is the time for question and statement from members of the public about issues within their neighborhood. And if we don't get with your community concerns, you can always contact your commissioner, and you can go on the website. All of our names and telephone numbers are listed out there for 4B04. Erin, am I missing anything, sweetheart?
I think I would just add that to up the security, we turned off the chat function. So for community concerns, you can either use the raise hands function, which is just a button.
Yeah, just a button.
The Q&A function where you can type in a question and one of us will read it and answer it as we go.
Thank you. And presentation, those that's going to give a presentation this evening, you have the agenda and presentation. Whoever's going to present have 10 minutes and 5 minutes for discussion. So please keep that in mind. You have 10 minutes, and every now and then we do allow you more minutes, but just keep in mind 10 minutes and 5 minutes for discussion. All right. Anything else, Erin?
I don't think so. We do have somebody with their hand up. I don't know if you want to entertain that question now, Brenda.
Go ahead. It may have something to do with the agenda.
Maggie Mackey, go ahead.
Hi, I'm here representing HEPCO. It's not related to the agenda, but we had sent you a press release about a program or initiative that we're running for reduced energy use DC. As a COVID-19 epidemic continues.
Are you all getting what she's saying? Because I'm not understanding.
Yeah, that's breaking up a little bit for us.
No,
Okay,
it's
let
breaking
me
up badly.
unplug the speaker. All right, I took off the speaker. Hopefully it helps. Can you hear
No,
me?
it's Miss Mackey, it's actually worse now. Yeah.
I'm going to try to call into the meeting. So
Okay, we're gonna go on while you calling in.
Just text it in the text box.
Yeah, the Q&A. Then we can get
Okay, I'm going to number 2, administrative items. All right.
Summary from Investopedia. Typical items listed as general and administrative expenses include rent, utilities, insurance, executives' wages and benefits, the depreciation on office fixtures and equipment,
Brenda.
and more.
Yes. Gordon, can you cut that?
Yeah, somebody had some background noise. I think if we just make sure to mute
Yes.
ourselves.
Yep. You can go ahead.
Okay. Administrative item that everyone have a chance to look at the agenda. Is there anything on the agenda that you need to, we need to talk about in the beginning, or we need to change or take off? Okay. Can someone?
Wait, Brenda. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I believe there's one item that is on the consent calendar that should be removed and put on hold for next month.
And
It's actually not my item, but from speaking with
It's
Commissioner
mine.
Huff, speaking with Commissioner Huff, there is a resolution. It's 4B 20-0602. That is, I'm sorry, I might be looking at the wrong number. No, I
That's
believe
it.
that's
It's
it. That's it.
4D20-0602.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry.
okay, you want to table it to next month?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I believe I'm speaking on behalf of LaRoya, so I'll stop talking because she's unmuted now and can speak for herself.
Okay. Commissioner Huff, you want to table?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Huff want to table 4B 200602 until next month. So that will be taken off the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Second, yeah, that was a sign for second.
All right, the agenda. The agenda had been approved. Okay, thank you so
Hey,
much.
Brenda, we have to vote.
Yes, okay, thank you, Aaron. I forget, do we have to vote all the time? All those
democracy.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have any nays? Okay, I have it. Okay.
Also, just so you're aware, Scott, I believe, has joined the call.
Oh,
Hello, commissioners.
Hello, Scott.
Hey,
hello,
Scott.
Commissioner.
How you doing? All right, we already done the participation of the meeting. Well, okay, we have everyone read the approval for the May regular public meeting minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
I move that we approve the minutes as submitted by the secretary.
Second.
Okay, is that being approved? And second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, thank you. All right, Jeff, treasury report.
Okay, this should be short. Thank you. We have substantially, we have pretty much no change from last month. Our account balance as of our last statement was $23,000, $981. Sorry, I'll say that again. $23,981.78. So that's as of the end of last month's bank statement, and we haven't had any expenses. So that's where we are. We're in good shape.
All right, thank you. All right, commissioner updates.
I have a quick update.
Yes.
I wanted my residents the residents to recognize that I have been in meetings involving DDOT concerning the intersection of North Capitol Street and Longfellow Streets and New Hampshire Avenues, northeast/northwest. And they're looking at ways to improve the intersection to reduce the number of accidents that we've been having at that intersection. I'm sure we'll have another meeting in the near future, but the progress is being made in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I saw no hand.
Brenda, I have an update.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to let folks know that we had a decision from the mayor's agent on the buildings at Walter Reed, buildings 31 and 84, which are the sheds. The commission had passed a resolution back in April of 2019 in support of the application to raise the sheds for purposes of a pedestrian bike trail, safety buffer, additional parking, and turn lanes. And the mayor's agent granted DDOT's request to raise those buildings. So that is moving forward.
All right.
I also wanted to highlight that we've decided to meet in July. So we will be noticing that meeting as we normally do, but just so folks know, that will be the fourth Monday in July, which is
okay. Cool. Thank you. And we plan to have a very short agenda for the fourth Monday in July. I'm smiling at Aaron.
Brenda, I have a brief update as well.
Yes.
People will remember BCA case 20111 involving the daycare at Trinity Episcopal Church.
Yes.
Several months ago. The BZA order on that came down 3 days ago and largely agrees with the commission's recommendations. And the expansion of that daycare is approved to go forward with the traffic control efforts that the commission worked with DDOT on, including the addition of the pickup drop-off zone and the considerations for the neighbors to ensure the safety of the students there.
All right, thank you. Thank all of you. Great information. Thank you for the updates. Anyone else? All right, moving right along. Presentation. Ellen Peterson and Caroline, was that Felcher? Legal Aid Society of the District of Columbia, COVID-19. Are you here?
I think Gordon will move them over. So Caroline is here.
Are you ready, Caroline?
Hi, yes, thank you for having us.
Hi, Caroline.
And I believe Ellen is here as well. I don't know if she's already been made a panelist.
Okay, you have 10 minutes for presentation and 5 minutes for discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Caroline, I don't see her. Is there any chance that she's calling in? Or Ellen, if you're on,
it might be under Mike Tanglis. If it's not under Ellen Peterson, it might have a different name.
Yeah, it's under Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
She'll be up in a second.
Great. I'm just going to share my screen. We just have a graphic to share for you all. But I can just get started. My name is Caroline Fear. I'm a staff attorney at Legal Aid. I'm in the Family and Domestic Violence Unit. And Ellen, if she is here, is a staff attorney in our Consumer Unit.
Yes, sorry, I think I'm on now.
Great.
I apologize for the name issue. We thank you for letting us come on to join your meeting to give some information about our organization and what we do and how we may be able to help you or people who live in your neighborhood with various legal issues.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time, and thank you, Erin, for coordinating and getting us on the schedule. We primarily serve people with low incomes or no incomes with a legal issue in DC. And we are able to serve people who do not speak English, who have disabilities, and undocumented immigrants. Today, we are hoping to just provide a general brief overview of our practice areas and some COVID-related information. We won't be able to give any specific advice if someone has a specific question about their case, but really encourage you to contact our main intake line or go online to do an intake. And that information is on the screen right now.
In addition to the information we're going to give you about our issue areas, we also encourage everyone to check out the resources on our website. We have frequently asked questions for all of these issue areas, including specific questions about changes that are happening during the COVID pandemic. And we do have the address there, but everything's available on our website, which is legalaidDC.org. So to start, I'll start talking about our public benefits work. Our office helps with many issues related to public benefits. Usually we do not help people with their first application, but we have information about how you can apply for public benefits. And then if people have problems getting those benefits with denials that they think are incorrect, we can help with those. That includes SNAP or food stamps, TANF, medical insurance issues, disability benefits such as SSI or SSDI. And especially important right now, we are doing a lot of work assisting people with unemployment benefits, including the pandemic-related unemployment benefits that are available. And some of the expansions during the COVID-19 crisis to public benefits, and specifically unemployment insurance, are that independent contractors are available to apply for assistance. Benefits have been extended for an additional 13 weeks when they normally expire after 26 weeks. And the extra $600 a week benefit is in place through July. Next, I'll talk about our domestic violence and family law work. First, we wanted to highlight that there is the DC Victim Hotline, which is there on the screen, 1-844-4HELP-DC. We encourage anyone who is experiencing domestic violence to call that hotline to speak to an advocate about safety planning, to get information about temporary housing, and to get connected to legal services providers to help with filing a civil protection order. And during this time, shelters are open, including shelters run by DC Safe, House of Ruth, My Sister's Place, and Dash, and advocates at that hotline number can help connect people to those services. Right now, any civil protection order or temporary protection order that someone has is extended. At this point, it's extended through August 14th, and the court is not holding remote trials at this time, but they are accepting new filings online. Our office is helping people with those filings, but again, you can call that hotline number to get help with that. We also have a number that people can text, which is there on the screen, in case some people are not in a situation where they can talk on the phone about getting legal help, but want to have a conversation via text message. Also, for family law issues, we deal a lot with custody and child support cases. We sometimes deal with divorce issues as well. Right now, the court has only been holding emergency custody hearings and very limited status hearings on these family law cases. We're hoping that they will start to expand the number of hearings that they're holding remotely on video chat and over the phone. And new filings are being accepted electronically through the Family Court Self-Help Center or other legal services providers. So we encourage people to go to our intake if they're looking for help with that. Any existing custody order that's in effect right now will stay in effect until it's modified, generally speaking. And although we don't deal with these issues very often, I'll just note that the court is sometimes holding hearings remotely on uncontested divorces and doing marriages remotely right now.
Great, thanks. I'm going to speak about landlord-tenant issues in housing, and also mortgage foreclosure and debt collection issues and where those stand right now. So we at Legal Aid represent tenants in eviction matters and other housing condition issues. Right now, if there are tenants who are having problems paying rent because of loss of job or medical issues or whatever it is, the DC Council has prohibited landlords from filing new eviction cases during the public health emergency and for 60 days after. And that public health emergency, that's a date that I'll talk about a lot, that public health emergency plus 60 days. Right now, the public health emergency is currently ending on July 24th. So no new cases can be filed during that time plus 60 days. There also can't be any actual physical evictions during the public health emergency. So if someone was already at risk of eviction, had an eviction case going on and had that order, they can't physically be evicted during the public health emergency as declared by the mayor. If you do have a case open, or someone who has a case open and they're concerned about the status, we do just encourage you to contact us now to talk about where things are and what your options may be. Although currently the landlords aren't allowed to increase rent or charge late fees, rent is still due, and you may be able to get on a payment plan or try to have some workout with your landlord. So contact us if you're struggling to pay rent or if you're already in the eviction process. For homeowners, people who have a mortgage in DC or own a condo, or own the home but don't have a mortgage, right? And are worried about taxes or something else. On the mortgage side, if you have a mortgage right now and you're able to keep paying it, we recommend that you do that. Keep paying it. There are options, of course, if you are struggling because of COVID-19. There are a lot of forbearance options. Depending on the type of loan that you have, who owns your loan, and you should contact your lender as soon as you can and try to start working with them. If you have issues with that or just want general advice, please reach out and contact us, and we can talk about the options that should be available to you. Again, there are no, because of the emergency legislation that the DC Council passed, there cannot be any mortgage foreclosure auctions. So the actual sale of a home cannot happen on owner-occupied residential properties during the public health emergency and for 60 days after. And similarly, no condo foreclosure auctions can happen during the public health emergency and 60 days after. They can be noticed. So you might get a notice of it, but they can't be scheduled until after that public health emergency plus 60 days. Similarly, there are lenders can't file mortgage foreclosure cases. So almost all foreclosures in DC happen through the judicial process, and no new cases can be filed during this time. So it's just really slowing everything down and trying to give people time to either get back on their feet or figure out their loss mitigation options. Two of the final pieces I'll talk about are debt collection and the stimulus checks. In debt collection, the council again has prevented any debt collector from filing new cases or taking new action on an old case to garnish or collect on an old debt collection judgment during the public health emergency and for 60 days after. Any debt collection case that's pending in DC Superior Court is currently postponed. And similarly, there are no auto repossessions during this emergency plus 60 days. There can be no utility shutoffs for non-payment during the public health emergency plus 15, not 60 days. And federally funded student loan payments, not private payments, are suspended through September. Most of the stimulus checks, the federal stimulus checks, should have gone out at this point. So if you are concerned that you didn't get one and you think you should have, or you want to know if you're eligible, you can contact the Financial Stability Network, which is part of Catholic Charities, at 202-772-4300, extension 153. Again, that's regarding stimulus checks. The number to call is 202-772-4300, extension 153, and that's the Financial Stability Network, and they should be able to help you figure out if you were eligible, the amount that you were, and see if you have any option of still getting it, or if you are eligible, if you may need to wait until the 2020 taxes.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Ellen. That was 10 minutes.
Thank you. All right, so we're all done. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to talk.
Gordon, I'm going to ask them because they was giving us great information and it was giving everyone that's on the call great information. Do you young ladies have anything else that you would like to say about this? Because this is something that the public really needs to know.
So really, really high level, that was actually our whole presentation. I'm glad it ended at 10 minutes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. That was really great. That was great information. Thank you, Commissioner Palmer, for inviting them. So does any commissioners have questions for these young ladies?
Brenda.
Hi.
Yes.
LaRoya Huff, 4BL9. I have a question. I have a constituent who has a property that he's renting. So prior to the COVID pandemic, he had in place for marshals to set forth to remove. So what I'm hearing you say is that the relief from the COVID, as it stands now, is 7/24. So after 7/24, can he then go after the persons that are in the home to redeem his property?
That is my understanding, that the evictions are prohibited only during the public health emergency, and not for an extended period after that. So if there's a current eviction order, that could be carried out after the public health emergency, after 7/24, unless that gets extended or the law changes on that. But that's my understanding.
And then the other question I had, I know you gave out some numbers, and I am not virtual, so I can't see your presentation. I thought I recalled an 844 for Help DC that had to do with domestic abuse. Also have a constituent that has that issue. So is that the correct number, 844 for Help DC?
Yes, that's the DC Victim Hotline, which is connects people to advocates, and they can also, of course, fill out an intake on our website or call our office for their legal help, but that number will connect them to advocates for help.
And your number is?
Our main line is 202-628-1161.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Erin?
Yes, I just had a quick question. I was wondering, first of all, thank you so much for coming. This is extremely useful information, and I appreciate that you took such care to stick to our timeline. I'm wondering if you have some sort of foresight about what it will look like once the public health emergency ends, if you feel like you're fully staffed and prepared for that, if you anticipate any hurdles, and what we can advise residents for when that time comes, when the need will potentially be greater.
So I think a big part of it, at least for some of our units, not as much public benefits, but for family law housing, foreclosure, it depends on the timeline of reopening for DC Superior Court. The court actually just issued a new order, I believe this past Friday, so just before the weekend, that extended the status of remote hearings through August 14th. However, they've said that they're going to try to continue doing more remote hearings during this time, and we're hoping that they'll do that so that there's not a huge backlog when they actually do open up in person. But that's definitely something we're monitoring and worried about if they're just not holding hearings during this time when they finally reopen, how will that affect people? I know that we keep a very close eye on legislation going through the DC Council. We work sort of to advocate for policies that we think will help people, and we work to advocate for the court for different policies. So it's something that we're closely monitoring and trying to do what we can to get things moving along during this time so that it isn't as much of an issue when things reopen.
And I'm sorry, go ahead. There's another question.
We have any other commissioners?
Yes, Terry Red, 4BL5. Question, ladies, and thank you for the information you gave. Two questions in particular. One, Legal Aid Society, dealing with workers in the district, the only cases or the only residents that you issue that you deal with is around unemployment insurance. Am I correct?
That's right. We don't do employment law.
Okay. And my second question deals with decisions rendered by agencies during the state of emergency. Is there an extension? And I'm asking from not only as a commissioner to disseminate this information, but I also direct a nonprofit that deals with workers' rights. A decision rendered by an agency during the state of emergency, is there an extension period for a resident who has filed and then received it after the emergency has begun, where he may not be able to get the assistance under normal circumstances?
Do you mean, I guess, what agencies are you talking about, or like what type of issue?
Well, DOES or Human Rights Commission, and agencies such as either of those, or DCRA for that matter. If a decision comes out and a person can't get assistance or has difficulty during the state of emergency getting assistance in filing an appeal or things like that, especially with DOES where the phones weren't answered for a period of time, are you aware of an extension period put in place by the council's legislation along the state of emergency?
I'm not aware, but simply because I'm not familiar with that practice or what that would look like. If it's something related to public benefits agencies, that's an answer. That's a question and an answer that I could take back with me and get to you later. But with respect to other agencies generally, or if they're specific, I'm not sure what if there's any tolling in place.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll add is it might be that the Office of Administrative Hearings in DC has announced any sort of policy about tolling deadlines. So we could check out their website, but in general, if anyone has any specific questions about an agency decision, they should definitely apply to our intake unit.
And OAH is one entity that I'm specifically referring to. So thank you for mentioning that.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners? I don't see any hand that's raised. You see any? Okay. Well, we thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much for having us.
Great information. Great information. Okay. Next on the list, and I'm going to say the District Department of Transportation. Going to talk about Metropolitan Branch Trail. I'm not even going to attempt to call your names because I don't want to miss the pronunciation of each name. So are you ready?
Hey, Mike, is there someone else joining you tonight? You might be muted still.
Gordon, it should be Michael Alvino and Samer Alhawamda.
Okay.
And then I don't know if Syra Molina, I know she's in attendance as well. I don't know if she wanted to be promoted to be a presenter as well. Michael, is it necessary for Syra to be promoted or just Samer?
Maybe just in case any
anyway.
questions
Okay.
come up, Syra can address those.
All right. Welcome, Samer and Michael, and thank you for joining us. This is about the Metropolitan Branch Trail phase from Fort Totten north to Aspen Street in Tacoma, and I'll let you guys take it away.
Thank you.
Yeah, and am I able to share my screen?
You
Great.
should be able to.
Can you see it, or?
Not yet.
What do I need to do? Here it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You can see this?
Yep, we've got it.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. My name is Michael Alvino. I'm the Trails Planner at the District Department of Transportation. I work in the Planning and Sustainability Office. So thank you all for having us here to give an update on this project, the Metropolitan Branch Trail from Fort Totten to Tacoma. And with me tonight is my colleague Samer. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Samer Al-Hawamde. I'm the project manager for Mid-Branch Trail from Fort Totten to Tacoma. And I'm taking the design from 30% to final design. And I'm happy to present with Mike Albino as well.
Yeah, so we will we'll try to fit into our allotted time tonight on the agenda, so thank you for that. But I will, before we get into it, I do just want to add that we have a host of information on our website, metbranchtrail.com, which we'll refer to at the end of the presentation, the detailed fact sheet and a more in-depth presentation map that you can look at to answer any other questions. We're happy to follow up with questions as well. So just a little bit of background for the Metropolitan Branch Trail for those of you who are not familiar with it. This is a planned pedestrian and bicycle trail that would connect Union Station with Silver Spring, Maryland. When completed, it will be around 8 miles and follows the old Metropolitan branch of the B&O Railroad. The district has been working on this trail for about 20 years and constructing it in segments, starting down at Union Station, and then when the New York Avenue Metro Station was built, a section was built there, and then through Eckington, Edgewood, and Brookland. Currently, we have a project that you might have seen under construction that runs from Brookland to the Fort Totten Metro Station. And so the next section that we are working on, which is currently under design, is this section that runs from Fort Totten to Tacoma. A little bit more specifically, the alignment that we're talking about. At the southern end, it picks up at the Fort Totten Metro Station down in Ward 5, just for a little bit on First Place Northeast, and then continues on Riggs Road northeast to First Street Northeast near the DC Bilingual School. And then we have an on-street or interim segment that will continue up First Street Northeast along South Dakota Avenue for a small segment, cross New Hampshire Avenue on Mcdonald Place, and then continue up Blair Road from Mcdonald Place to Aspen Street, and then turning under the railroad tracks and continuing up Sandy Spring for 1 block to Maple. And now I'll turn it over to Samer to talk a little bit more about the project timeline.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, the timeline for the project we received the NTB in January 2020 for final design to begin from the 30%. Now we currently, the material we post online, actually those 30% completed from the date of the January. So the design 3% was completed, and we share the material, and now we're here like to explain these materials as well and ask some questions. So now after we like receive the comments and feedback from public, we're moving to the 65% design, which we're looking to complete at the fall 2020. And we plan to do the same thing. We post material online on Mid-Pines Trail websites and reach out to public as well, and commissioners and ANC meetings. And once that completes, we move to the next stage, which is the 100% design, which complete, and will be finished in winter 2020. So that's our like design schedule will be like from January up to winter 2020, which is the end of the year. And we're looking to start constructions in fall 2021. And the construction will last for 2 years. So the project will be complete and constructed in fall 2023. Mike, can you go for the next slide, please? Thanks. So the key design elements for this project will have like a new off-street and on-street trail segment, which trail will be like part of it will be on the street and part of it will be on a share path to the sidewalk. So as we're showing these pictures here, like showing some like, we're sharing path at the sidewalk, and traffic calming features. What we're talking about here is more like this project will worry about the safety concern for pedestrian and bicycle and actual vehicles and stroller or whoever use that path. So we try to implement some like safety feature for along Playroads, especially because we face some like speedings, and we're looking forward to add more like safety feature like speed hump or maybe road diet or do some other feature. We're still like looking through these like kind of elements to use. And stormwater and low impact developments. And since we in the area, we're looking like to improve the stormwater management system along Playroads and Riggs Road, which we're focusing mostly, even like for the Blair Associate Garden as well. We look these areas as well to improve it to be better for like the Garden Associate, as well as along Blair Road and Riggs Road. This is the target location we're looking for. And we would help and support from DOE as well in reviewing our like design. And traffic signal and signage. So in addition, based on our like design, we're looking to have like install new traffic signal and adding more signage since we're adding the trail. So we'll involve more signage and a new traffic signal, which can include more like bike lanes and bike signals as well. Lighting and utilities, especially we're focusing here on Playroads as well, because we might add more lighting as well along Playroads. And with all these like, new signal we have, we may add small lighting at the intersection just to get more like luminar and more like for pedestrian and bikers to have for safety at night, commute at night. And utilities will definitely, that will be involved as well underground, because we're gonna like move some like, relocate some signals, we're gonna remove some utilities and relocate some poles and Pepco poles, so that will be involved in constructions. Maintenance traffic plans, MOT plans, this like the plans will be like described during the 2 years of construction. We're going to like provide those plans to show the construction schedule, the phases, and how we're gonna like start this construction from phase 1 to the phase 3. Probably we'll figure this out how many phases we will have for constructions and how we're gonna like split the work along the project limit. And landscape plans will add like more like trees and more like landscaping area for the communities and more like for better like looking for the neighborhood and bring it more like attraction to the neighborhood. If you, Mike, if you could move for the next slide, please. Thanks. So now I'll give to Michael Bean to talk about this slide.
Sure, thanks, Samer. So two of the big key elements of this project are the 2 new traffic signals. So the first one is at the intersection of Riggs Road and First Street Northeast. This one we're actually sort of pulling out of the project so that we can expedite the construction. We've already finished the design and we'll be handing over the designs to a contractor to begin construction later this year. And they expect to complete sort of the first phase of construction of that signal at the intersection of Riggs Road and First Street Northeast in early 2021. And then when the trail project comes along, either at fall of 2021 with our timeline, then we would come back and add specific signals for the bikes and pavement markings for the trail crossing. But we wanted to expedite, get that traffic signal in sooner, particularly with the school DC bilingual being right there at that intersection as well. The second traffic signal that we're adding is at New Hampshire Avenue and Mcdonald Place. And we will be sort of focusing a range of traffic calming improvements in this on-street segment on First Street Northeast and Mcdonald Place Northeast. So adding speed humps on First Street Northeast, adding sidewalk on the north side of South Dakota, that little diagonal street where there currently is no sidewalk to allow pedestrians to get across New Hampshire with that new signal. And then a contraflow bike lane on Mcdonald Place East. We are also not planning at this time any changes in parking or any number of travel lanes on First Street Northeast or Mcdonald Place Northeast. And then I also do want to mention, one of the things that we discussed during the preliminary design and the planning phase was, this alignment was selected through an environmental assessment that was done with the National Park Service. And one of the things that we heard from ANC 4B and would still like to do, and heard from a number of stakeholders, was to revisit that decision and look at a better trail alignment that would run through the National Park Service property in Fort Totten, closer to the Red Line tracks. So that project it's not a part of this project, but it's still something that is included in our long-term plans. And then I'll turn it back over to Samer to talk a little bit more about Blair Road.
Yeah, content-sensitive design for Blair Road. Actually, when we start looking to Blair Road and reviewing the Terrabit design, we're targeting some certain location at Blair Road. And this location, we have to have the special care in design when we looking through this location, which I'm mentioning here: community garden, extra space, storage, woodward liquor, and appliance design space, and new high daycare. And so these places, we need to, they are almost our businesses and community association places. So we kind of work closely for each individual, and we are in communication and already for all these property owners, just to work with them closely and how we could implement the trail with their benefit as well as the pedestrian and bikers benefit. So we try to commemorate both sides of the design of the stakeholder, just to make sure the design it's acceptable for both sides. We met with the owner for daycare and for the appliances store as well, and the liquor store. And we had a meeting soon. We could do a meeting with the owner of the liquor store just to discuss some more proposed design for them to see what's beneficial for their businesses, as well as the community gardens. We've been attending their associate meetings, and we present our design, and we are in communicate with the stakeholder there. So basically here we're focusing on to design the trail to meet their purpose and need for each stakeholders along Blair Roads. Next slide. And this cross section, it's shown from Oxbow to Sheridan Street, and this section along Blair Road, and showing the trail will be 12 feet wide. And if you can move the cursor, Michael, just to, thanks. 12 feet wide for the shared path. And we're going to have a parking lane 8 feet and in a northbound, and 12 feet northbound travel lanes, and a southbound travel lanes, and 8 feet parking lane. We're removing one of them northbound travel lane and convert it to parking lane. And so for this one, for more provide more parking and provide more it's more a safety concern to slow the speed on Blair Road, which we figure out there is a lot of concern about cars speeding along Blair Road. So we come up with this kind of proposed for kind of improvement for this location. Can you move forward next slide, Mike? Thanks. And this cross section showing Blair Road from, section, I cannot see that slide, give me a second. Yeah, from Sheridan to Aspen Street. And at this section, we're providing the share use path trail. And then we drop the lane over there and we have like a 10 feet northbound travel lane, a southbound travel lanes, and a 8 feet parking lane, which if you look at this picture, we dropping the lane and we widening the trail into the road just to provide, to build a trail, and even like, that's called like a road diet like concept. So we could slow the speed on Blair Road at this segment. And if you guys familiar with this, we had a recent accident at Aspen and Blair Road. So that's one of the things we consider during our design, just to make sure to slow speed along Blair Road. And actually we talked to the communities as well there, and they were like looking for like more something to slow down traffic along Blair Road. So that's the two concepts we think about like in our table-based design to provide safety and slow speed. And we're looking to hear more feedback. We're still in table-based design. We're looking for more feedback from public, from you guys, from anyone who could just support the design, or we need more like feedback. If you go for the next slide. And like Mike Albina mentioned earlier, that's how we guys reach us through. We post the material at midbranchtrail.com website, or you could reach either me or Mike Albino through midbranchtrail@dc.gov. We receive all your comment or your feedback or your concern about the projects, or you could call us at this phone number. We answer that phone. Or you could mail us at the address. If we get back to the office, like we could get the mail. And if we had a chance to go back to the office and we'll be able to host a public meeting, we are looking forward to do it, unless if the mayor office like permitted to host a meeting. We are very happy to have one and invite public for like more information, But now the best way we could just provide the information through Mid-Branch or contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yep.
This is very helpful. Commissioners, y'all have questions?
Looks like
I do.
Allison does, yeah.
So just first, I missed one point that I needed clarification on. So I'm very appreciative of the light at First and Riggs. Our community has been requesting that for quite a while. And so it's good to know that that's going to be expedited and you know, hopefully will impact some of the congestion and traffic problems that we've been having at that intersection. And then I heard you say that there would be a second light, but what I didn't hear was whether that light would be at First in New Hampshire or Mcdonald in New Hampshire. And I know it's not a big difference, but it just sort of figures where the light actually sits.
I can answer that question. So I guess
it's really not First. I'm using that loosely. It's really
right.
South Dakota.
Yeah, it's South Dakota and South Dakota, New Hampshire, Mcdonald. It would control sort of all those.
All of that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. I also heard you say that you know, you're still looking at the better alignment of the trail through the Park Service. I just want to reiterate our ongoing concerns about the number of accidents that exist today along First Street, along, you know, First and Riggs, and at that intersection of New Hampshire, Mcdonald, and South Dakota. So fortunately, because we're not all driving to work every day, the number of accidents have decreased. But there is definitely a concern about that intersection being unsafe. And so if we could really spend some time looking and talking with NPS about the alignment along the closer to the train tracks, I think that would be safer for everyone involved. Also, I know a few of my residents are on this call and they have concerns about the traffic along First Street and McDonald Place already. So on First Street, you know, a lot of times our cars are damaged while parked because cars cannot pass each other. So there's some concern about, you know, how that's going to be addressed if there's a bicycle there also. Just personally, I've had to replace, you know, side view mirrors on 3 cars, and the last several years. I know one of my residents who's on was interested in using her backyard and actually requested an alley or paper alley behind her house so that she wouldn't have so many accidents with her car while it's parked. So I don't know if that's something that can be looked into as well. On First Street between Kennedy and Riggs doesn't have an alley like the rest of us do. And so that would alleviate some of those parking concerns as well. I also know that one of my residents from Mcdonald Place is on, and I'm sure he's going to ask his own questions, but he did email me today and reiterate his concerns about traffic on the traffic problems we're already having on Mcdonald Place, and what an added, set of bike traffic will do to that. And so if you could speak to that a little bit too, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Those are all great comments and good questions. We look forward to working with you as we finalize the design so we can address a lot of those questions. Our intention is not to obviously make the situation worse. And we have recommendations in here in our design that I really think will improve the traffic safety and slow traffic down specifically. I think the signal itself, both signals as well as the speed humps that we plan to add will sort of reduce some of that cut-through traffic of people coming towards the metro station from north on New Hampshire Avenue. We're sort of making that hard left right now onto South Dakota and then racing down First Street. And similarly on Mcdonald Place, I think we talked a lot in the preliminary design, and we stood out there on a couple of rush hour mornings and observed sort of that wrong way traffic. Folks, Mcdonald Place is one way going from towards New Hampshire, and they're opportunists who will make a right off of New Hampshire and cut over to Blair and North Cap. So I think the specific design of the intersection, is really going to narrow that that sort of channelize the car lane exiting Mcdonald Place onto New Hampshire and make it not like a place that someone could go the wrong way onto Mcdonald Place.
I also want to add, just because I didn't say this earlier, obviously Riggs Place, EYA is moving into the area. There's going to be construction, and then eventually there are going to be homes with drivers and cars. And so I think all of that needs to be factored into the design now, so we don't have that headache 3 years from now when people start to move in. And then lastly, as I mentioned at the top of the meeting, I had a conversation just this week with Syra and a few others with regard to the intersection of North Cap and Longfellow Street Northwest. And all of that I know specifically the bike trail won't be at that intersection, but all of that ties in together. And a couple of years ago now, we went on a safety walk, pointed all of this out and talked about it in relationship to the Metro Branch Trail, which is where the light at First and Riggs kind of first came up. And so I just want to make sure that that's on the table as well, and all of that's being looked at and can be included in the final design concepts.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if Syra, if you're on, if you want to sort of, I guess, respond maybe or talk a little bit more about how we're trying to handle traffic safety in the area.
Okay, any other commissioners?
Brenda, we got some questions to the Q&A feature, and if you want, I'll read those.
Yes, go ahead, Evan.
The first one is...
probably let Jeff ask his question first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see Jeff on the way my screen's set up. Sorry.
I have a question after Jeff.
All right, I didn't want to jump anyone else in line, but I do have a few questions, and I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you being here to present on this. My questions are sort of around, well, this obviously runs along the train tracks through ANC 4B. And I mean, I sort of view that area as something of a blank canvas. We have a giant cement wall. We have a bunch of underpasses which aren't particularly attractive or pedestrian friendly. And so I'm wondering to what extent you are already incorporating improvements there to make those areas more friendly. And so not just where it's slated to go under at Aspen, but also maybe east-west connections, because I mean, what we have Riggs Road and then New Hampshire, Kansas Ave, and Van Buren. And I think a lot of those places just aren't super friendly, aren't really well lit. And so, you know, the underpass at Van Buren, for example, you might not be going directly under that, but to what extent can we build upon the placemaking ability here to do something more for these areas? Because I have a lot of constituents who look directly at the cement wall. And so that's a big concern. And if there's anything additional we can do to really, you know, not just a bike trail, but a really beautiful area.
Yeah, that's a good question, and you know, I think something that we'd be excited to hear more about and work on. You know, we can certainly look at issues like lighting, adding those from a safety perspective, and look at the east-west connections as they cross the trail. You know, one of the things that has happened with the rest of the Met Branch Trail, sort of as it's been completed, is it's really opened up as an opportunity for public art. And we work with the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. And if you go down and take a look at the Met Branch Trail in the Noma area or in the Eckington area, there's a big mural program. And so, you know, I could see that being brought up to this area with the big concrete wall, as well as, you know, we have some public art, some totem poles that were designed as part of a contest that DC Commission on Arts and Humanities had done. So I think, you know, we would love to hear from the ANC and with our sister agencies like the Commission on Arts and Humanities on opportunities that we can do things like that.
Okay, so is it more on us to initiate that, or is that something that you would do, or something DDOT could do but isn't necessarily in your purview?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I want to continue to work with you on it because I think it's really important for our neighborhood as we, you know, get closer to the construction phase, and even things like as you are designing how the trail crosses underneath at Aspen. I think there are a lot of opinions in my SMD about what that should look like, and I'm, you know, so I'd love to help in any way I can with that. I have a lot more questions, but I'll pause there in the interest of other people's time.
Okay, we have Perry and Aaron.
Two questions. One, the area right there at Tacoma, I see the construction now going through the deer habitat there. Will that be lighted to a higher degree as people walk through that wooded area from First Street over to near Gallatin? Will there be will there be greater lighting? And my second question, from your illustration I saw in the area along Blair Road between, say, Sheridan, Whittier, along that area, am I seeing that no parking spaces will be affected?
We're not, from Sheridan to Aspen, we're not having any parking. We'll drop the lane off. Yeah.
So, and as I look at the illustration, the illustration proposed improvements on the far right, I'm looking at the same configuration on the southbound side of the.
Yeah.
So am I correct in what I see?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and let me ask you about the light.
And can you give me the first question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can answer that, Samer.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah, the lights by the Fort Totten Metro Station, so that trail will be lit, and those lights will be hardwired DC street lights. They'll have a little bit different aesthetic, so it will look a little bit nicer than a you know, like a highway light, but it will light the trail too. There's a lot of concerns about safety at the Fort Totten Metro Station.
It's surprising there weren't more muggings or rapes in that area over the last few years, which I've raised that to Metro, sent pictures and everything else. So thank you for your answer and your presentation.
Thank you.
Brenda, I just have one quick question.
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm wondering, Jeff was mentioning east-west connections and if there's been any thought about the relationship to and connections with Walter Reed and the development over there.
Yeah, that's a good question because Samar and I are also working on the Aspen Street project. It is just a few blocks away. I think that would be something we might have to get back to you on to look at how this would connect specifically.
But you are the point person that I would talk to about that generally?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Brooks. Can I have one last follow-up very quickly? I know we can't have community meetings at this time, but I would like to request that once community meetings are an option again, that there be a meeting with the community, specifically 4B and 4B09, because the Riggs Road, South Dakota traffic study has to be sort of a consideration in all of this. And I think that I might have jumped the gun and Commissioner Huff might have had a question, but we'll see.
Yes, I was going to ask the same question. Is it possible to coordinate a community meeting? I know that on South Dakota, where the K-Fritz building, Commissioner Brooks did reference the EYA project, but there's also the K-Fritz project. We're also getting another school over in that warehouse area near Fort Totten. So my concern is greatly about the children, the seniors that have to cross already, and then you're talking bicycles. And there's just so many schools that's in that whole cluster around this trail. So I would like the community to be presented and to have input on concerns, the existing traffic problems we have now, not to mention now bicycles and other people moving to the community. So the congestion will be heightened intensely. So I would ask that we have a community meeting and to work with you with that. And Commissioner Brooks.
Okay, anyone else? Evans, your questions?
If no commissioners have, I was going to read the questions that came in through the Q&A feature.
Right.
Okay. Mary asks, is there any plan to connect the trail at Aspen and Blair with the new trail being developed from Georgia Avenue and Aspen to 16th Street along Aspen?
Yeah, I guess that's the same question that Commissioner Paul.
Yeah. And then the next one is, what is the anticipated date of signal installation for the intersection of New Hampshire, South Dakota, and Mcdonald Place Northeast?
Oh yeah, this one will be like part of the mid-branch timeline. So wherever like the timeline we have, that will be the. So the construction will be like fall 2021 during that construction phase. So we'll know that once the design complete, we'll know what time frame will we construct the signals.
We have Dolly Turner here who's raised her hand from the community.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for the great presentation, Michael. So I think that the Met Branch Trail is a fantastic project. It's going to bring, a lot of value to the community. I think that what is missing here in a big way is not your department. What's missing here is Vision Zero and the Traffic Safety Department. We see what improvements that you're going to make, but what is missing in a significant way is what is the holistic, bigger picture around this. The Met Branch Trail is one piece of what's happening at South Dakota Riggs, what's happening at New Hampshire Avenue, and a bunch of new development that's coming to Tacoma. And unless the Vision Zero Department and Traffic Safety support what you're doing, it is going to be very challenging. And so when we have that community meeting, those departments, the heads of those departments have to be there, and the person, and Cynthia Lynn, who's doing the livability study. The livability study as of today has not been funded or approved. And so those considerations are not factored into this plan, and they have to be.
Sure, yeah, and thank you for that, Dolly. Yeah.
And so what we need, you know, we need for you to advocate for that too, because you've done your job. You've spent 20 years making this happen. Now they've got to step up and do their jobs.
So in other words, what are you saying, Dolly?
Great plan, and that the community, when you request this meeting, the head of Vision Zero needs to be there, the head of traffic safety, and Cynthia Lynn from the livability study. They all have to participate in this presentation, because Michael can only be successful if his colleagues come to the table and do their jobs around this.
Yeah, and well, you know, we like to say that we are one DDOT, and we all work, you know, as best that we can to implement the vision, and a lot of that comes out of our livability program, and we use that to sort of look at the neighborhood in a more holistic way and see how one thing affects another. So we do try to implement those recommendations where we can, you know, and some of those recommendations from the livability study, you know, we didn't get a real chance to talk about tonight, things like, simple things like adding crossings of Blair Road, you know, where there might not be any now, like at Nicholson Street, where there's a bus stop, and making those crosswalk improvements with bump outs so that we know they'll also improve the traffic safety. But those are all good points, well taken, and we look forward to being able to host a DDOT hosted meeting where we can talk about, get really into the details about the trail itself, but also talk about all those other issues that the neighborhood faces.
Let me add to Michael quickly. This is Samer. We would like to, we have more safety studies and traffic analysis been done for this project with help with the traffic team and with Vision Zero. But the time consuming here, we'll not be able to provide all this information. So we try to summarize the information here. But if you went to Mid-Branch Trail website, you would see more detailed information about all these studies been done and all these reports and traffic analysis we did with help with Vision Zero as well with the traffic team. So we all work together, and we will all these this project all as a DDA, and we always have a meeting with them, and we always ask for their opinions on all these traffic element and safety element we provide in this project. It's based on these studies and analysis been done, not only with DDA, with our consulting as well, doing this analysis, and we're still doing more analysis for each intersection for some certain movement, for left turn movement, and make sure the safety is it's the priority when we do the design. So, but the only thing, because we've been invited to this meeting and we only have a set amount of time to talk about this information, but we would love to host our meeting, and we could just speak broadly about our designs, elements, and all the studies we completed. And this project has been been for a while, and we've been having all these analysis been complete. And feel free to go to the website and look through all these material we post online, and you just go through them and see what DDA did for the past 3 years, and with all the teams we working with. Thank you.
Hey guys, sorry, Brenda, I just wanted to say real quickly, since as speaking as a member of the public, I spend a lot of time riding my bike at that Riggs from South Dakota up the hill, and then on Mcdonald, and I live next to near 8th Street Northeast, where the MBT is about to get a street connection many years later than it was promised. And so I just urge you guys to complete this project, but to meet the holistic concerns of the neighborhood, and do not delay in creating the safe all ages, all abilities off-street connection with NPS, because I live on a street that's essentially like the McDonald Place segment on this design. And if we don't get it done early enough, we end up asking about it for decades.
Okay.
We still, go ahead.
I would just add that this has been an issue in 4B08 long before I was a commissioner. And there have been many people that have brought concerns to the table with regard to safety surrounding the map as it exists today. So I want this approach to not only be holistic, but inclusive, because while there's a lot of support for the trail, and I'm not opposed to a trail, I am concerned that it's sort of being forced down the throats of the people that have concerns about their property, their car, their quality of life involved with how they can travel in this area. And there've only been more projects brought to the area since this conversation began. And Dolly's correct. If there isn't a holistic approach to this, it's only going to, while you can check the box that says you completed the trail, it's only going to be make life here miserable for those of us that have to walk, ride, and live in this area. And when you spend $2,000 or $1,500 in 1 year to get car repairs done, when you're actually not even driving the car, it makes it a very pertinent issue.
So, having not commented yet, I'll just say I am personally up on the north end of the trail. I'm very excited about the removal of the travel lane on Blair Road heading northbound. I think it contributed to the fatal accident at Blair and Aspen. I think the way the road goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane and then back to 2 lanes encourages people to speed and to try and pass on the right. So I wanted to thank the DDOT team for that, because despite what Dolly said, I think that is something that advances the overall Vision Zero goals for the area and shows an engagement with the broader concerns of what's been going on in the community. And I'm appreciative of that. And I actually think that that's going to be a significant traffic safety advancement for my constituents, at least.
Okay. DDOT, you all have agreed to have a meeting that's separate from the ANC so that all the community can come together that has questions for you.
Yes, just to clarify, we can't host meetings as of right now. So as soon as COVID is over and we get the lift and the green light from the mayor's office, we would be able to host our own meeting.
All right, we'll stay in touch with you on that. And I want to say thank you all. That was great information, very useful information. More information that we have gotten thus far, about the bike trail. And I understand a lot more than I did in the beginning. And we do look forward to hearing from you in the future, hopefully in the near future, because I know all of this is going to end very soon. But thank you for coming. All right, next is our reports. Metropolitan Police, are you online?
If you guys are joining by phone, please dial *9 to raise your hands.
Just the FYI, folks, there's a melee down at Lafayette Park where they're trying to take down the Stonewall Jackson statue.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of interaction going on. If you know anyone down there, just be aware.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank, hold on just a minute. Evan, thank you for inviting DDOT to the meeting. Thank you so much. Thank you, Perry, for that information. All right, Dolly, I know you're on. You ready?
Hold on 1 second, Dolly. Let me light your microphone up again here.
Okay. And all the reports, you have 3 minutes each. Reports, 3 minutes.
Unmuting myself. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Parks. And good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone that the budget hearings are underway right now. The schedule has shifted a little bit this year due to COVID. So hearings are going later into the summer. And the votes around the budget are pushed back a little bit too. There's going to be a shorter recess as well. You can tune in to see all of the hearings. If you go to the DC Council website, you can click on calendar. It'll give you a list of all the hearings. All of the hearings are via Zoom. Some committees allow you to participate or to testify in person. Other committees don't, depending on what the volume is. There's still plenty of hearings to take a listen in on. We have completed our government operations hearings. Just wanted to give you an update on Four Cedar and Blair. That intersection will be completed this summer. The project was delayed just a teeny bit because of COVID. There was a delay in March, which kind of pushed things back, but it's coming along nicely. Let's see here. In terms of the Tacoma Dog Park, the Tacoma Dog Park construction should start in a couple of weeks. They are working on the Tacoma Recreation Center aquatic pool roof. Let's see here. The Whittier School Elementary School roof is still underway. And obviously the city is moving to its second phase of opening, and Keyshawn will, or Gabriella will provide updates on that. And I think that's the main thing. I think right now the council is pretty much focused on hearings, at budget hearings at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have questions?
Any commissioners have questions for Dolly?
Yeah, so I saw that Councilmember Todd had voted in favor of the emergency police reform bill that came forward. Is Councilmember Todd, I know the mayor has since raised concerns about that bill and some of the provisions on it. Does Councilmember Todd favor making that legislation permanent as written?
I think is, to my knowledge, obviously there may be some modifications to the bill, but right now he's sticking with he's planning to maintain his votes. I don't know if you had a chance last week. There was probably 3 different judiciary hearings. A lot of information came out of that. I don't know if the Committee on Judiciary is going to make any revisions to the legislation that was passed. Obviously, there has been a lot of feedback about it. I think we'll have to wait and see what happens next week. But right now, he signed on with his fellow council members. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, anyone else for Dolly? I don't see any Q&A out in the audience. Anyone else? All right, thank you, Dolly.
Sure.
Okay. Do we have the mayor office?
Yeah, I saw him. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Keyshawn, go ahead.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I'm putting some comments in the question and answer queue. But it's good to be with you all tonight. I'm Keyshawn Harris, one of the Ward 4 representatives from Mayor Bowser. I want to say happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Hope you guys had a great weekend. A few quick updates from the mayor's office. Today, we kicked off phase 2 of reopening. Neighbors and business owners can visit coronavirus.dc.gov/phase2 for more information about social distancing guidelines, what businesses are open, and how they can move forward. We invite residents to join us for our economic recovery telephone town hall tomorrow at 4 p.m. We are also hosting a community leader call to provide an update about the district's response to COVID-19 on Wednesday at 5 p.m. We are happy to announce and kick off today the Mayor Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program on its all-new virtual platform. We are also offering free antibody testing in Canal Park through July 3rd, and anyone seeking to get a test can get one and make an appointment on our coronavirus website. Additionally, we have added 3 new walk-up sites which operate daily at Judiciary Square, Anacostia, and the UDC Bertie Backus campus. And then finally, here in Ward 4, we have a walk-up test site at Engine 24 Firehouse at Georgia and Gallatin Street, and that's every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 4 to 8 p.m. And with that, I am happy to take any questions you all may have.
Oh, wow, Keyshawn, any questions, commissioners?
Brenda, I have one.
Yes, go right ahead.
Keyshawn, I'm wondering if you can give us some more information on the reopening metrics, because it looked like some of them were not met for phase 2 reopening, and I've heard some concerns about that.
Thank you for your concern. So I'm not an epidemiologist, but what the Department of Health and the mayor said this morning at our press conference is that we did meet 14 days of community decline spread. We did see a slight spike, but we did in fact meet the metric to begin phase 2 reopening.
So, Keyshawn, any information about how schools is going to reopen in the next 8 weeks?
Sure. So on our coronavirus.dc.gov/phase 2 section, we have a section about schools, and it provides some guidance from the DC Health talking about how schools may reopen, but we are going to continue to monitor the effect of COVID-19. And so what we're saying for our guidance for schools is that schools should perform daily health screenings for all students and staff. And then it goes into more depth about adequate supplies and PPE hand washing strategies as we look toward reopening our schools, hopefully fully in the fall.
Keyshawn, 2 questions. First, you didn't fully answer Commissioner Palmer's question, because there has been numerous news reports stating that one of the measures, specifically contact tracing, has not been met. And so that's a concern. If we're not meeting all of the measures as stipulated in the mayor's guidance, in the mayor's orders, in the reopening plan, then that's a concern. We have to question all aspects of the matrix that we're using. Second question, with regard to the Summer Youth Employment Program, I'm a supervisor for that program within my agency, which is DDS. And I was told today that the city is not providing those students with PPE. So they have to bring their own, or they cannot enter our building. And I was not aware of that until 4 hours ago. But I wanted to know, is this something that the mayor is aware of? And is there something that can be done to ensure that these students who are coming into these offices have appropriate PPE so that they can perform their duties? Because if they can't get into the building, they can't get paid.
Thank you, Commissioner, for both of those questions. The mayor stated this morning during her press conference that we had, in fact, met the contact tracing metric, and we'll make sure that the website is updated. In regards to the SYEP, so you're saying that students are physically coming to your building, even with the virtual platform?
We do have several students. We have 3, to my knowledge, within my specific agency, who are coming into the building, and our building has already stated that you cannot enter unless you have a face mask. Now, if these kids, I mean, they're kids. I can't get my kid to wear a face mask full time. So really, if they don't have proper PPE provided to them or something on site for them to use, they can't enter the building, meaning they can't work, meaning they don't get paid.
Okay, so I'll follow up with our DOES team and our executive team to see what's the situation going on and then how we can move forward, and I'll let you know, okay?
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. And that's not just for DDS, that's across the board for all summer youth that are actually going into buildings.
Commissioner Red here. Mr. Harris, let me ask about Bertie Backus and the walk-up testing. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Bertie Backus is a walk-up testing site, am I correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and what days of the week and what are the hours? Do you have that listed there?
I don't want the hours on me for that specific, well, excuse me, it goes from 10 to 2 on Tuesday and Thursday at Bertie Backus.
All right, thank you very much.
But you can also go to the Georgia and Gallatin walk-up site, which relatively doesn't have a line as much as the Bertie Backus campus, and they're open from 4 to 8 p.m.
Georgia, Gallatin, and what days of the week?
That's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Thank you.
And if you go to the website and you type in free DC testing for COVID-19, it will give you a calendar and it tell you where every place is in the district.
All right, thank you.
Website also. So do we have any hand raised? I see no Q&A.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we have Mr. Frazier.
You may be on the telephone. Frazier, if you're on telephone and you can press *9 to raise your hand. I guess not.
Okay, I guess he's not on tonight. Okay, hopefully he's good. We're coming up to our consent calendar. And I'm going to read what we have here. Resolution 4B 200601. Requesting traffic calming and safety measures on Piney Branch Road Northwest from Eastern Avenue to Georgia Avenue Northwest, Commissioner Yates. Resolution 4B 200603, supporting fundings in fiscal year 2021 for public housing repair, Commissioner Palmer. Resolution 4B 200604, reopening DC recommendation regarding phase opening of schools and children's center, and that's Commissioner Johnson. Can I hear the motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
I second it.
Okay, it has been approved and second that the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Aye.
We had a nay?
No, I think Commissioner Huff voted aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. And next on the line, thank you all so much. Letter of support from the Renaissance Healthcare Commissioner Knickerbocker.
Good evening, everyone. This should be relatively quick, and it's actually Galaxy Healthcare Solutions, not Renaissance.
Galaxy, okay.
That was a earlier mistake that got on the agenda that I didn't have time to correct. Theodore Ngachu and Galaxy Healthcare Solutions is seeking to expand their business model so that they can provide non-medical services to everyone in Ward 4 and the district as a whole, as opposed to just people with disabilities. So this letter is a support going down to DDS to support Theodore and Galaxy Healthcare's expansion.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners?
Question.
Go ahead, Perry.
All right. I'm trying to get my screen up.
Okay.
Can't see my screen.
Gordon, I believe that Theodore is actually on the call. Is there a way to promote him so that we can, so that he can help answer questions, please?
Yep, hold on 1 second. He should be able to talk.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening, Theodore.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, I'm sorry, Perry. What was your question?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Because Zoom's gone off my screen. My question, Scott, if you could help me. I asked about are these the same healthcare providers that came in and spoke to us? I think there were 3 or 4 of them.
No, sir.
Spoke to us. Is this Galaxy the same?
No, sir.
No, it's actually a different. The funny thing is that the lady that came in is actually married to Mr. Ngachu. So there is a familial relationship, but not a business relationship.
Okay. So with this business, let me ask, do you pay the workers a living wage?
Theodore, can you answer that, please?
Yeah, I can answer the question. Yeah, we pay our in-home support workers, we pay the living wage, of course.
You say, of course. And what's that minimum at your business?
The minimum, the living wage for on July gonna go to $15 per hour, but as of
That's
now,
the minimum. It'll be the minimum, not necessarily a living wage.
the living wage as of now was $14.65.
$14.50 an hour. So that's the DC minimum. So
yeah.
I asked you about
the living wage. The minimum was $14.30. That was the minimum. But on July, it's gonna go up.
On July 1st, it goes up to $15 an hour. That is DC's minimum wage. So I asked you a different question, but thank you for your answer.
Anyone else? Any other commissioners?
We have one person who's raised their hand. Hold on. P. Griffin, you should be able to speak.
Yes, I wanted to know what the expansion entails. Is it that right now they have home health aides that can only work with disabled individuals, and they want to expand it to work with individuals that may just want some service in the home? I don't understand what they're expanding from and to.
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer that question. Thank you. Now, Galaxy, for now, we provide services to people with intellectual disabilities. And that's a very specific populations that is being served now by the Department on Disability Services. But what we intend to do now is to request a new services from the Department of Health. And that service now is not going to be just limited to the population of people with intellectual disability, but it's going to be expanded to all your loved one, who need personal care services or any other non-medical healthcare services.
Who will this be funded by?
Of course, this is not going to the home support agency is not a Medicaid funded program. It's going to be, we're going to provide services to people who can pay by their own means. They're going to have to pay out of pocket. This is not a Medicaid funded program.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, ready to vote?
I will move to, I will move the letter of support for a vote.
Seconded.
It's been moved and second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2 ayes. Nay? 3.
I think Allison gave an aye.
Allison's an aye.
We're gonna do this. Aaron, would you do the roll call, please?
Sure. 4B01,
Abstain.
4B02, abstain. 4B03,
Aye.
4B04,
Sustain.
4B05,
Nay.
4B06. Tiff, that's you. Are you abstaining?
Oh, sorry, abstain.
4B07,
Aye.
4B08,
Aye.
4B09.
Aye.
The motion carries with 4 ayes.
Okay, thank you, Erin. All right, it carries. Okay. Thank you all. And now we have resolution 4B200605 calling for divestment of local police funding and reinvestment in community-based supports and services. Commissioner Palmer?
I'm gonna take the lead on behalf of Commissioner Palmer, who I would like to thank for doing such a great job on this, and also for the comments that we got both from Commissioner Yates as well as from our external partners across the ANC spectrum. We really are calling for, as you know, the mayor has a very ambitious agenda and budget for an increase of millions of dollars for our our Metropolitan Police Department at a time when I think we need to defund some of those services and put more of those funds into the portions of the NEAR Act that have been underfunded. So violence interrupters, putting more money also into social services. I'm not sure if you all saw the news, but there was an individual who had a mental health crisis at Freedom Plaza, and instead of receiving the mental health services he needed, he was put in handcuffs and taken to jail. Because MPD is ill-equipped to deal with those types of situations, as they are with many situations that are social service oriented versus public crises that endanger the person's health, safe, or another individual's property. So we've come up with this resolution that calls for a myriad of remedies that counter what the council has already put into place with their emergency legislation. First and foremost, we're asking for that legislation to be enacted completely, not on a temporary basis, but fully. But then also going a step further to asking them to provide additional legislation that can be implemented, calling for a ban on stop and frisk, calling for a ban on chokeholds, calling for enhanced police screening and training for individuals. And I'm not talking about training in Israel. I'm talking about training in DC, where they learn how to interact with the people that they are here to serve. Also asking for a more robust and empowered Office of Police Complaints. There's a lot of more power that the council can provide to them, and we're asking for those measures to be taken into place. Also asking for greater measures to stop the school to prison pipeline, which other council members have tried to do that in the past. It has not been forthcoming in recent years. I think we need to restart that conversation. And also increasing oversight also over Metro Transit Police, which we do have some financial and fiduciary responsibility over, and asking them to do what we're asking our current Metropolitan Police Departments to do. So that's kind of in a really quick synopsis, what we have in this resolution, and I hope to have your support. Erin, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Let me just say a few quick words. One is that this is part of a national movement. We're seeing a lot of protests and a lot of calls to defund the police. And it's good to bring it back to what's happening locally and why we feel compelled to act here. The council's Judiciary Committee held an oversight hearing of MPD and 16,000 people submitted testimony. That's just a staggering number of people who are interested and care about this issue. And staff to that committee said that 99% of those testimonies were in favor of some form of defunding the police. 500 people signed up to testify. The committee could only accommodate a number of those, but those were also similarly, just the vast majority were in support of defunding. And 450 people watched the hearing on Facebook. This is an issue that we can't ignore, that we should take the lead on and be forceful in our views on it. It's a moment, and it's a moment where the shift should be, money and policies should shift from punitive actions to support for basic needs. And that means funding for housing, funding for healthcare, funding for education. And specifically with regard to public safety, that means funding for mental health supports and for violence interruption services, which have seen a decrease in funding in the current budget proposal. Tiffany touched on all the things in the resolution. It's quite lengthy. One thing I wanted to highlight is a call for express policies prohibiting sexual misconduct, which are very prevalent among police forces, including our own. And that's based in part on the power dynamics at play. And another provision about more control over and pressure on police forces that operate in the district that we don't control directly, like the Metro Transit Police Department. So this is meant to be a reflection of our priorities as expressed via our budget dollars. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any questions? Thank you, ladies.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't have a question, but I just wanted to take a moment to speak in favor of this. I think there's a lot of hesitation among people and communities about the overall movement to reshape what our government's processes look like through resolutions like this and through processes like this that redirect our local funding to other purposes. One of the things I want to say personally is that, I don't know if folks know this about me, but I worked for 2 years as a police dispatcher and 5 years in emergency response. So I've worked closely with a lot of police officers and in police departments. And there's a temptation to characterize people who support the move to change the way we fund our society as knee-jerk reactionaries or naive. But I can tell you from my experience that this resolution is exactly the sort of changes that we need to see in the district to make our communities safer, to make them stronger, to ensure that our budgets reflect our priorities. I'm especially proud, since I'm someone that cares deeply about education and has 3 young children, that the language around schools and policing in schools is very strong. And I was very glad to see that included. So I'm going to support this resolution, and I hope my other commissioners will join me in supporting it.
Very red. So thank you for drafting this. There are a few elements missing. I spoke to Tiffany prior to the meeting, and the issue of the oversight of our MPD on security guards is a missing element, because we know what happened in Marbury Plaza a few years back, where a young DC resident was killed, and the lack of transparency with the video and the like. The issue of face recognition technology, that's very important that we prohibit those things. And of course, you know, it amazes me that you have to tell an adult not to sexually assault someone else. But a provision, I do understand why it's there. And full disclosure to my other members here on the commission, I'm a candidate. I won my primary, and my calls for defunding and refunding the police are somewhat heavier and somewhat stronger because of my life experience with the officers. Even recently, when my car was stolen, in the reaction from MPD, I was stopped by the police last week twice, and I've shared that with a lot of my followers on different social platforms. I support the resolution. I saw it was a draft. So my question is this a final, is this the final form of this resolution that we're voting, are we voting on tonight?
Tiffany, you're muted.
All right, okay. So Perry, this is the final version that we are voting on tonight. I did reach out to, thank you for reaching out to me. And I do recognize what we were talking about earlier with regard to the facial recognition. And that is something that we can definitely delve into more. I have to do a little bit more research as to where DC stands on that. In the interim, you mentioned security officers, and there are mentions of security officers as well as special police officers within this current resolution. They are all licensed through the same process, and so they are all encompassed within this current resolution. So that issue will be point and center. I will get back to you though with regard to the facial recognition.
So I have a comment, and I think I made this comment before during our planning meeting. Now, I represent a diverse community, right? I have a lot of seniors. Not everybody's a senior. But the word defund is unsettling in a lot of cases. And I think we need to understand that not everyone thinks that not everyone agrees on what defund means. Almost seems like to me, and I actually don't prefer the word defund because it sounds like you almost, are, and I know this isn't the intention of your resolution, but when you use the word defund in a broader context, people automatically assume then you're not going to have a police department. Then there's going to be lawlessness because then the police department's not going to be funded because it was defunded. What you're really suggesting is that we revisit the budget allocation for the police department and find better uses of some of those monies that support other priorities like violence interrupters, which should be funded, right? I'm not arguing that that shouldn't be funded, but I'm not sure that I support anything, one, that uses the word defund because I disagree with that terminology. Two, I'm not sure that a lot of my residents support defunding, but I don't know because I didn't have enough time in the last 2 weeks to get feedback from them to find out the answer to that question. And then three, I feel like this resolution sort of makes everything cut and dry, that it's either yes or it's no, it's either A or it's B. And there's a lot of gray area in some of this. Should there be police officers in schools? I'm not sure there shouldn't be some in some cases. I'm not willing to make a blanket statement that there shouldn't be any police officers in any schools in any area of this city. Do I support a pipeline from school to prison? No. But is there a need for people to feel safe in their environments? Yes. So my points are, this is all very complex, and I'm not sure that we're actually ready. I'm not ready to vote on this resolution. And I tried to make that point before, but I don't think that it was clear to everyone else. So.
To your first point, I believe, Allison, I believe it was your first point. The actual title of the resolution does not say defund, it says divestment, which is very different. Calling for divestment of local police funding and reinvestment in community-based supports and services. That is
I agree with that.
Resolution.
Yes, you did use that terminology, but I was just making a broader point to not just to you all, but to everyone else that's here and observing the meeting.
Completely different from defunding, because I do understand what you say. People think defund and yeah, we're gonna go to some crazy movie, I don't know, The Purge or something. That's not what we're calling for. We're calling for the mayor to look at her budget, the way she has it structured now, look at the NEAR Act, look at what has already lost funding over the course of several budgets past, and put some of this additional allocation that she's putting towards MPD into socially based services and supports so that we don't have an ongoing cycle of individuals coming in and out of the criminal justice system for a lifetime or for a secondary lifetime if it's their children. With regard to your statement with regard to do police belong in schools, personal opinion, no, they do not. Because the issues that individuals are facing within a school setting are socially based 9 times out of 10. If you reach the child where their social needs are, there is no need for a criminalized intervention, because that's all they're going to see by a police officer. And we've seen this with MPD and we've seen this with Metropolitan Transit Police. They are incentivized to arrest everyone, and who cares what the socioeconomic reasons for their behaviors were. So if we put some money into better social services, getting mental health counselors, getting more behavioral specialists, social workers into the school system, we can stop the school to prison pipeline right there. I'm not going to argue the point. I'm just putting.
It's not that cut and dry for me.
Okay.
And that was my point.
Any other commissioner?
Scott has his hand up.
Okay.
Sorry,
Scott.
one more comment. I just wanted to build on what Evan stated earlier. People have a hard time imagining what defunding the police, and this is not my own idea. I'm repeating somebody else's thoughts, but if you have a hard time imagining what this scenario will look like, I agree with the statement that it basically looks like what affluent suburbs look like, where they spend money on education, on healthcare, on all sorts of social services and less on police. So imagine someplace like, I don't know, I'm just spitballing, someplace like Potomac, you know, where there's money spent on other social services. So that's what I imagine a scenario like this would come down to.
And everyone that don't understand the defunding, please go to the website and read articles that they have out there, because in the beginning I did not understand what they was talking about with defunding, but I educated myself on what was being said here. And I do agree that all the money should not go, because if you look at the budget, $800,000 was taken away and 17 million was given to the police department. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it or whatever, but the point is, what are they using the money for? We don't know. But we do know for mental health and for our children, we do need the money. And the money needs to be given around the board to those that is really, truly in need. Now, if the money is going to the police department for them to be trained, they have more training, I would say, because they should be trained when they come from the cadets. All cadets should be trained over how many months or years or whatever it takes. But I left the word defunding alone, and I looked at what Commissioner Palmer and Johnson have written here, divestment and reinvest. And reinvestment means to reinvent the money, you know, that we have. We have all these red light cameras, and this is a sore thumb of mine. And we have all these red light cameras, okay? But schools are in need of money. We was told that the lottery, when we got the lottery, 40 years ago, the lottery was going for the schools. How much money have been for the lottery? We was told that, and if I sound like I'm talking double, it's because I'm deaf right now in my right ear. I can't hear. We was told that the bag tax, every time you go to Safeway or wherever you go to get a bag, now it's 5 cents. Well, that money goes in a general fund. It does not go to clean the Potomac River. So we need to know where this money going. So we need to stop and stop thinking about being defunded, but we're thinking about reinvestment. Where can we reinvest these funds? Okay. So, and do we have any questions out there?
But why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't we say we want them to invest in mental health services? We want them to invest in social services. But why again, my question has always been, why is it either you defund the police or you fund social services? I don't understand why it has to be one or
It's not about either
Where's
or.
the money gonna
It's
come
not about
from?
either or.
We're
It's
not,
not about either or. It is the fact that what we've been doing has not worked for DC residents. And it has been a racial disparity far greater than we should be even thinking about accepting any further. And defunding is a term that one already fixes their minds. In my campaign, I call it refunding the police, because a reallocation of the budget is what needs to happen. No one wants to have, to absolve, well, I'd like to abolish the police force, but in real terms, we wouldn't abolish the police force.
Well, no, we can't do that. We need them.
And no one, and folks already understand that.
Right.
And so anything else is a distraction when people talk about that. The fact is, we want to reallocate the funds as far as hiring officers who don't live here, who are not from this area, is problematic for the people who are being policed. And so we need to reallocate. Because I was at the ANC meeting with Chief Newsham, and Chief Newsham bragged about the hiring of 1,000 more officers. Listen, if you're talking about hiring 1,000 more officers, you see all those, well, matter of fact, I'm looking at the news right now. These folks got MPD patches on, and they're down there policing these protesters. So we've got plenty of darn officers. The money allocation for the services they needed, violence interrupters, mental health services, of course, community outreach and the like, and then arming and occupying our schools. Wilson doesn't have the same militarily vested officers in their school as when I go over to Coolidge. So
that's not true, and my daughter attended Wilson. That's not true, Perry. That's not true, Perry. And I don't disagree with what you're saying with regard to we need to have a new vision for how we police, but the question that I'm answering still isn't, that I'm asking still has not been answered, in that why is this the only line item where those funds can come from?
Well, they're not saying that, but I think what you need to do, Allison, is probably you need to reach out to the mayor office on that, because that's something that we as commissioners cannot answer.
So but that's what you're saying in this resolution, though.
Commissioner Brooks,
it must come from here.
So my response to that is just that part of the reason you look for that for the other money is because we spend a lot of money there. DC has the most police per capita, and that's just including local police. There are approximately 40 police agencies that operate in the district any given day. Most of them aren't even included in that count. So when we talk about places to find money for schools and for things of that nature, the biggest pot of available money that you can see the most excess in is clearly in how we police residents. So that would be my rebuttal to that. But I would also just say that yes, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think it is a transition away from the model that we have now of how our government relates to its citizens. And it begins small, but it grows big, and we recalibrate what our priorities are. I think the other thing that I would just say, and to Commissioner Red, is I think he's absolutely right that it's not proven to be completely effective. If you look at our clearance rates, even though we've spent more money on police over and over again, our clearance rates for violent crimes, for property crimes, they have stayed stagnant or decreased. And I would like to say that somehow throwing good money after bad would actually make us safer, but I don't feel like it's had that result. Like, there's no correlation between the crime rates we're seeing and the amount of money we spend on police. And so the time has come to say that we just can't keep doing the same thing forever and ever,
It's 9:03, commissioners. It's 9:03, and we're going to vote on this.
Commissioner, we just, sorry, we have a couple people who've had their hands waiting patiently to speak from the public.
Okay, well, 60 seconds each. Go ahead.
Ms. Peoples?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Maria Peoples. My family and I live on Piney Branch in Van Buren. I'm the parent of an incoming freshman at Coolidge. I'm here to express my support for this resolution. The vast majority of the DC residents who testified at last Monday's public police budget hearing told us that true community safety requires defunding MPD and investing in community resources like housing, violence interruption programs, and fully funded public schools, and I agree. As uprisings continue locally and across the country, we know that DC police departments are just as culpable as any in perpetuating daily anti-Black racism, violence, and terror on people in DC, including children and including in Ward 4. Right now, as we are in this meeting, MPD and Park Police are just north of Lafayette Park, enacting horrific violence against protesters, despite Chief Newsham and Mayor Bowser's claims that we don't do that here. Giving the police more money gives them more tools and more power to harm people. People can and will continue to debate the utility of police and the definition of defunding, and it's been interesting to listen to that tonight. But at the end of the day, police and policing do not prevent crimes. They don't repair harm. They don't provide people with resources, and they certainly do not create safety. As a result, I'm in favor of, thank you.
Go ahead, finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have Naima. Hold on one second. Yeah, you can speak.
Hi, Mr. Chapin, thank you. Hi, this is Naima Jefferson from Shepherd Park. I just wanted to point out that it's extremely disappointing that you all are regurgitating a bunch of language that basically is being passed on with the national level without taking the time to actually have a conversation with MPD, as well as allow your fellow commissioners to meet with their constituents and see how their constituents feel. I think you all are moving with haste. I also think that you all should re-examine when you ask to divest from the police, which laws specifically should the police no longer enforce, as well as when you reallocate funds to other agencies, which laws should they implement in order for that funding to be effective? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do we have another?
Yes, we do. Sumner?
Hi, my name is Sumner McCrae. I live at Dahlia and 9th Street. And I just wanted to say that I think I'm in full support of this resolution. And I think that there's kind of a two-prong issue of one, that, we don't have enough investment in DC in affordable housing. And that's a problem, in our neighborhood. And it's a problem across the city. We don't have enough investment in social services and mental health. We don't have enough investment in our school system. And I think the idea of divesting or reallocating funding from the police department, that's a huge source of funding that we can reallocate to those sorts of programs, as Evan pointed out. And the efficacy of the police in our city is sort of unclear. I mean, we're so heavily policed here, and we still have a lot of issues with crime. I also feel frustrated a lot of times when things are going on in our neighborhood, a neighbor having a mental health crisis or kind of smaller issues like that, that I don't have anybody to call. I don't call the police in those situations because I don't trust that they can de-escalate that situation safely.
Sorry, Sumner. That was 1 minute. Zoila?
Hi, I'm here to speak in support and urge you to pass this resolution. I wanted to say up front, I'm very grateful for you for including the names of people killed by police in DC because they're often ignored in the national conversation that happens here. I'm in support of the resolution because at a time when we're facing a major financial crisis and people are increasingly unable to pay rent, we have many better uses for our city's dollars than spending more than $500 million on policing. And commissioners have discussed this idea that if we cut funding from police, we'll end up in chaos, as someone said, like the purge. But I would argue that investing in services, in violence interrupters, social services, on food and housing will keep us safer. Also, there's this idea that if we cut funding from police or they don't do as much, that they're out there saving lives every day. But I say at best, a lot of what the police do is neutral and often it's harmful. We know that when that police from the MPD zone stop and frisk data, that they stop that Black people in the city are 6 times more likely to be stopped by the police than white people, and are no more likely to be carrying a weapon or illegal paraphernalia. So I would say, where do we start cutting? We start cutting right there with the harassment of Black people in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoila. Sarah Frazier.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I live on Eastern Avenue near the Tacoma Metro Station. I also want to speak in support of the resolution, and I urge you to pass it. The other speakers have made some great points, and in addition, I think part of the reason this resolution works so well is because many of the issues that the police are called on, like others said, mental health crises, and responding to medical calls and things like that, they're not the most suited to. So I believe by redirecting that funding to other sources who can better respond to those things or even address those problems before they come crisis situations, we will better serve our residents and keep more people safer by diverting that funding away from the police and towards other organizations. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, we have Miss Griffin.
Yes.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I just wanted to concur with Ms. Brooks. She is my ANC. And as she said, when you hear defund the police, because I've heard that term, and it did initially make me a little concerned, because I thought it was talking about getting rid of the police in some form. But now that I've listened to more people and had you explain what your vision is for it, I agree to some extent, but also we have to take in content, and we have to realize that the areas where most of the shootings and the killings of people, not by the police, but just by people in general, or we don't know who they are also in Black communities. And we are also more the victims of crime in the city. So when I see something happening, or I think somebody's encroaching on me, my first reaction is to call the police.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. And finally, we have Jahi Wise.
Hey, Jahi Wise here. Live at 8th and Tewksbury. Just wanted to say, first, broadly support the resolution and reinvesting resources, specifically the proposed MPD budget increase into mental health services and community-based alternatives policing. I did want to ask the commissioners, perhaps at a later date, it would be interesting to hear more about specifically how divestment and reinvestment would impact our ANC specifically. So like, if we were to reallocate the proposed budget increase, like how, if at all, would that impact 4D? I also would love to hear Fraser O'Leary's thoughts on, Coolidge's current SRO allocation versus their guidance counselors. I think, I would be curious to hear some of this stuff, how some of this stuff impacts our community directly, and happy to, work with folks to figure that out. But I broadly support the notion of thinking of other ways to make sure our community is safe.
Thank you, sir. And Frazier wasn't able to make it tonight. Chairwoman, you're all set.
Okay, thank you. I thank all of you all for all your input. Thank you for all your opinions. We as commissioners, we did listen very well to what everyone was saying. However, we're gonna move right along here. It's 9:12. Do we have any community concerns?
Commissioner Parks, I believe we need to move and call the vote. So I'm going to move the resolution. It's on the table.
I'll second it.
Okay, Aaron, will you call us, please?
Yes, 1 second. I'll just make a note that.
It's been moved as second, and we're gonna vote.
Yes. Okay, 4B01. Evan.
Aye.
4B02, yes. 4B03.
Aye.
4B04.
Yes.
4B05.
Yes.
4B06.
Yes.
4B07.
Aye.
4B08.
Abstain.
4B09.
Abstain as well.
The motion carries. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 7 ayes.
Okay, it carries. Thank you all. All right, moving. Community concerns. Do we have any community concerns?
Yes, we do. Hold on one second. Hold on, Maggie. Come on.
Community concerns will be 60 seconds.
Maggie, you're good. Oh no. Crap. All right. We can't hear you, Maggie. Okay. Hold on.
Says she's on the phone.
Before we Astria, while
Yes.
we're waiting.
Yeah, hi. My name is Estrella Samariba. I'm here with Community Mediation DC, a DC-based nonprofit that I volunteer with. And during a time when, many of us are stuck at home with, our chosen or not so chosen friends and family, and also amid calls to rethink the role of the police, we want to make sure that you all know about Community Mediation DC as an already existing resource. So for the past 3 years, we've been building a free community mediation center here in DC. And mediation is a voluntary and confidential resolution process. It allows participants to feel heard. And right now we're offering our mediation sessions virtually over Zoom. Outside of COVID, mediation is always face-to-face, meeting with 2 non-judgmental mediators. So we would love to have the support of commissioners in making referrals, connecting us with people who make great mediators, finding locations for mediations, and so much more. So in particular, we're looking for a commissioner who might want to serve as an ambassador to community mediation. You're more than welcome to visit our website.
Sorry to cut you off, but that's been a minute. Go ahead and give your website, please, though.
Yes.
Yeah, communitymediationdc.org, and if the chat is enabled, I can put more information.
If you drop it into the Q&A, we'll make sure it goes out to folks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You. Any more community concerns?
Yeah. Yes, Maggie, go ahead. Please.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so the reason that I'm on tonight, and thank you for the opportunity, is because PEPCO has a Reduce Energy Use DC initiative. It is a competition for any DC resident who is at least 18 years old, and basically you take a pledge. And when you take the pledge, you are indicating that you want to receive energy saving tips and weekly usage reports by email. But you are also entered for random drawings with a $300 credit on your PEPCO bill. Anyone can participate. If you don't have a PEPCO bill, you can opt to donate the money in the gift of energy to another PEPCO customer, if you like, a random customer. We're also offering 3 prizes for social media, and the categories are the top student post, the most popular social media post, and then there's another one, the most popular, I forget. But anyways, I'm going to put the comments, I'm going to put it in the question and answer. But again, if you want to sign up, you just go to reduceenergyyousedc.com and take the pledge.
Thank you.
Repeat that again, please. Reduce.
Yeah, go ahead if you're still on, Maggie. You should be able to talk still.
Reduceenergyyousedc.com.
Thank you. Any more community concerns?
Yes, one, Mr. Wise.
Hey, Jahi Wise again, from 8th and Tewksbury. A quick point, and forgive me, I joined late if this was already addressed. There's just been and I saw next door a lot of traffic around cars moving really quickly down some of the numbered streets. And we're just wondering whether there's any conversation about, speed humps, or as well as cars kind of driving really quickly through the alleyways. And so I don't know if folks are thinking about that or working on something with regards to that, but just wanted to flag it as something I've heard a lot about.
So this is Allison. Tiffany and I were both involved in that that thread on Nextdoor.
Yep.
I asked Lieutenant Shout from MPD to work the issue, and in the thread on Nextdoor, I asked people to contact their specific commissioners because I don't want to overstep my bounds at any time. But since I was already going to contact MPD about the issues inside of my SMD, I listed every location that was included in that thread.
Okay,
I was
great.
told that someone would be on the call from MPD tonight, but they weren't present. And Commissioner Red indicated that there's something going on at Lafayette Square, and so perhaps that's why. But my intention now is to follow up with them tomorrow. They were going to give us sort of, an update on what they had done or were planning to do to address the speeding in the alleys and the streets. If someone on a particular block is interested in speed humps, I would refer them back to their commissioner for that. That is not something that I addressed in my conversation with MPD because that would be a DDOT issue. When I spoke with DDOT, I was specifically told, however, and I spoke to DDOT in the context of the thread on Nextdoor. I was specifically told that they do not put speed humps in alleys. And so I'll just provide that as an update and you can take that back to your commissioner from there.
If I may, Mr. Wise, thank you for bringing that up. As a part of, and I'm not campaigning here, but it's a part of my platform. What I want to do is implement what I call seriously safer pedestrian traffic here in the district. And one of the things I'm looking at, and this came through one of my constituents, is DDOT funded mirrors, corner mirrors in alleys. Especially in alleys that are well paved and folks walk through those alleys with their children. I'd like to have corner mirrors in those alleys. And of course, it'd be funded by the city that go on residents' fence posts and the like, so that there's one more layer to safety when traveling through those alleys, because I've had to ask people to slow down in alleys. I'm not a proponent of the mayor dropping the speed limit in the city from 25 to 20, but I do understand its purpose. But that's one of the things that we're looking at, Mr. Wise. So thank you for bringing that up.
So just really quickly, I wanted to remind Mr. Wise that the DC resolution portal contains all of 4B's resolutions. It includes resolutions on traffic calming from myself, Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Palmer, and Commissioner Bromagin. So those are all great resources if you're interested in learning more about what the commission has done on traffic calming.
And we have one last resident. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have one last resident, Mary. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so first I want to thank the commissioners for their work on defunding police. But I think now is the time, as we think about our communities, that we think about returning control of schools to our communities. And just because Adrian Fenty wrestled the control of schools out of the hands of the local members of the community, it doesn't mean it has to go on that way. And I'd like for us to begin the conversation about taking control of the schools away from the mayor and putting it back into the hands of a local school board and local communities. And that also will be a way for us to provide education that is community-based.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Any more?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Before we adjourn, our next public meeting will be Monday, July the 27th at 7 p.m. July the 27th, we will have a July meeting at 7 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I thank you, commissioners. Thank you all so much. And the time we adjourn is 9:22 p.m.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.